Dallas Cowboys season is mercifully over. I am Fort Worth Star-Telegram sports columnist Mac Engel, and I'm joined by the Mr. Great Clarence E. Hill Jr. as we sit here and wrap up the final Dallas Cowboys game of the season. This time a 23-19 loss to the New York Giants in New Jersey that ends their season without even waiting for the Washington game tonight against Philadelphia, because how the Cowboys won or tie, a tie is a very important element to this discussion. Had the Cowboys won or tied today and Washington lost, which is highly possible, the Cowboys would have won the NFC East at 7-9 and made the playoffs. However, they lost 23-19. They finished 6-10 to wrap up what was a garbage season. And I've got to tell you, Clarence, of all the guys who had a bad season, my head coach, Mike McCarthy, in his first year as the Cowboys head coach, was as bad as anybody. I cannot understand a lot of the decisions that he made this season, ending with this game today where he didn't go for two-point conversion.
Too early.
Hang on. I know that's what he said. I was on the call. When he didn't go for a two-point conversion, when all you need is a tie today, all you need is a tie. So he didn't go for the two-point conversion after the Ezekiel Elliott touchdown midway through the third quarter, because, as you said, he told us after the game it was too early to do it. Then in the fourth quarter, he elects not to challenge Dante Pettis' 10-yard catch that replays showed were at a minimum worth a second look, and Mike Pereira of Fox said would have been ruled an incompletion. That gave the Giants 10 extra yards, gave them a shot at the field goal. They make it. That gives them the 4-point difference because the Cowboys elected to go for the point after attempt back in the third. Mike McCarthy said didn't have enough information at the time. It was a good call not to challenge the decision. Clarence, Mike McCarthy is the guy who challenged the Dez Bryant catch in the 2014 NFC divisional round when that was a hell of a lot more gray than that Dante Pettis catch today. I don't get it. This was a guy who was all about analytics earlier in the season to justify some of these really bizarre decisions, and today was like the ultimate bow on the end of a gift that was nothing more than dog puke. This was awful, and I can't understand both the decisions or his justifications.
Now take a deep breath.
I will, because I'm a little irritated. I was fully expecting you and I were going to cover a playoff game. So much for that.
You started on a roll, and I guess fittingly, Jason Garrett was on the other side. How many times did Jason come into the final game of the season, needing to win to get in a final division game, and losing as Cowboys head coach?
Yep.
I know at least 3 times, okay? Come to the final game, those 8-8 years, needing to win against an awful division opponent and coming up bad. Here the Cowboys go again, coming to the final division game, needing a win in the final game against a bad divisional opponent, needing to win to probably give them a chance to get to the playoffs, win the division, and they come up short. Jason Garrett was fired because he wasn't good in the coaching booth. Jerry Jones wanted an improvement in the coaching box. Guy who makes better decisions. Guy who, is experienced and been in these situations. And what do we get this season?
Same thing.
What do we get this season?
Anything that happened with this team was out the door the minute Dak Prescott suffered his season-ending injury with an ankle that was pointed in some grotesque direction back in week 4 or 5, whatever it was. I don't even remember. It feels like 10 years ago. So I think anything the Cowboys did ultimately this season after that point was gravy. No Super Bowl, no NFC championship or anything like that. But within that, you have to sit there and look and evaluate everybody individually. And you would see, wow, CeeDee Lamb was terrific. It looks like they hit on that first-round pick. Diggs as a cornerback looks like a guy who could be a real player. Some other guys, too, like, well, they did okay. I think Ezekiel Elliott, I certainly picked on him, but, he was probably a little bit better than what we gave him credit for. Certainly I gave him credit for. But the one I can't get my head around, and other than making some small adjustments with route runs at the beginning of pass plays, rub routes, etc., Clarence, The Cowboys were the exact same under Mike McCarthy as they were under Jason Garrett. And these decisions today were baffling and almost you're fired worthy. Jerry's not going to fire him, but you're so right. We've seen this 1,000 times before. The only thing difference is the head coach is Mike McCarthy. It's not Jason Garrett.
Yeah, no doubt. And the question is, will they make a change with Mike Nolan? You already talked, and obviously we talked to McCarthy after the game. He said, "I'm going to evaluate players after the season. We'll do all that." But he didn't say Mike Nolan's coming back, which is he could have easily said.
Yep.
What's there to evaluate? That's your guy. And so there's something to evaluate, and with good reason, because you know what, the last three were fool's gold. Everybody was getting all excited. They had this 3-game winning streak against some bad quarterbacks and some bad teams, and the Cowboys are turning around. See, they're getting their sea legs. See, it's finally taking hold. No, this game put them out of their misery. It put this season out of their misery. So we cannot put lipsticks on a pig. This season was a pig, and if they would have gotten to the playoffs, we would have tried to dress this thing up as something that it was not. It was not about Andy Dalton being better than Dak Prescott. It was not about this Cowboy team finishing a 4-game winning streak and possibly. I mean, Troy Aikman said, "I think they have a chance they win this game, get to the playoffs. I think they have a chance to make some." No, they didn't.
No, they didn't.
No, they didn't. And certainly they would have got Tampa Bay and they would have been put out their misery real quickly with Tampa Bay coming to AT&T Stadium. Of course, Jerry Jones had about 50,000 fans here. So he would have won, but yeah, they have to make some hard decisions on this team and on this future and on this staff because I think the way they ended was kind of, coloring some things the wrong way.
Totally.
And so that's a good reason. Of course, we don't have to sit here and wait until 7:00 tonight and decide whether they'll get to the playoffs or not. Our day is done after this. Okay.
Our day is done. Our season is done as the Dallas Cowboys. But Clarence, let's go back to the middle. We have talked about any number of decisions Mike McCarthy made, beginning with the week 1 loss against the LA Rams in LA when he elected to go for it on 4th and whatever and 4th and 2 and CeeDee Lamb cut the route short and they don't get any points at all. Well, analytics. And then, week after week after week, we would see some decisions.
And all that other stuff. What are we doing here?
Exactly. So let's go back to the midway through the third quarter. The Cowboys were awful in the first half, and they showed up in the second half, and they were really outplaying the Giants. So then Zeke Elliott scores on the touchdown run. They make the score 20-16. Or do I have that right?
20-15.
20-15. Sorry, 20-15. At that point, I think you mentioned it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Your point is go for the 2 right now. Did you believe Mike McCarthy's decision explanation to us after the game where he says, thought it was a clean decision. It was not the right time in the game to go for it. Do you buy that or not?
Well, to me, it's like, are you an analytics guy or not? You make decisions early in the season based on analytics and the right thing to do and the numbers and the chart. The chart says go for 2. You make it a 3-point game. That's what you want to do. Okay. And so and because they didn't, they were chasing that point certainly late in the game. And certainly after they didn't challenge the Dante Pettis thing, you're still chasing that point, need a touchdown instead of a field goal. Which would have certainly been a different situation after you drove to the 7-yard line. You kick a field goal. We're talking about a different outcome right now. So I thought he would go for it. I thought it was the right thing to do at the time, just because you're trying to win. This is it.
Is there any chance at all? Okay, is it? I said a couple weeks ago, I think it was after the Bengals game, that the Cowboys didn't trust Zeke Elliott, and I still don't think they did. And I think part of the reason why they didn't trust Zeke Elliott because they don't trust justifiably that offensive line. The leading rusher today for your Dallas Cowboys wasn't Tony Pollard, it wasn't Zeke Elliott. It was Andy Dalton with 7 carries for 48 yards. Is there any chance that he just simply said, you know what, we're not going for 2 here because I don't think we can run with it, and I don't think these guys can punch it in. So we're just going to go for the 1 and keep it at 4 points rather than try to go for 3.
Well, there's a number of curious decisions. You go back to the first half on 3rd and 12 instead of letting Andy throw it because Andy was bad in the first half. Yep. They ran the ball. They ran a draw to Zeke.
I remember that. Yeah,
set up the field goal. So I mean, they made a number of decisions like that. Whether it was Zeke, whether it's not trusting offensive line, was not trusting Dalton. But there, you got to have a play. You just signed your offense coordinator, this great guru, kept it from Boise State. You got to have a play. This is not about line. It's about scheme. It's about having a play. You have a trick play. You have a 2-point conversion play. You should be able to pull one of those out there.
Well, You and I noticed this throughout the game, and unfortunately, I was shockingly accurately prophetic when I tweeted in the third quarter, man, Andy Dalton is going to throw a killer interception in the fourth quarter. Because
he should have thrown 3 early in the game.
That's why I said it. And that's why I said he was playing with fire for many times throughout, really until the fourth quarter. And it was too bad because his play in the fourth quarter was really good. He had played really well after the start of the second half. But Clarence, go down now to the Pettis catch. And Mike McCarthy says, I don't think I have enough information available to challenge that call, because he was trying to hold on to the 3 timeouts. Clarence, do you sit there and buy that explanation? You're like, that
was his explanation, but I just think that it was just a bad decision.
So do I.
That was his. I can't argue with what he was going through his mind and why he made the decision. He made the decision, but at some point you just got to YOLO that. We need the ball. Okay, this is
YOLO. Chris, you really think that was a YOLO? Andy Dalton's pass on third and goal from the 18. That was a YOLO pass.
Okay, what I mean is the Cowboys needed to, even if you're unsure, let's try. Let's see. He clearly was unsure. I mean, he said that. I mean, that's why he didn't challenge it, because if he was unsure. But the time of the game, the opportunity was too much not to say, let's see what replay set does. That's what I mean. He clearly was unsure. I don't deny that he was unsure. I mean, he was unsure. You can't question him being unsure. And I don't know what replays he got was as clean as we got on TV.
It's the same thing.
He was looking up at the stadium thing. I don't know who was relaying to him in the operation, because he was looking up at the replay of the stadium. And so I don't know what we got.
Then who exactly, and I know I always get a different answer on this, someone blew that call. When Mike Pereira who's pretty fair. Mike, although he's a former NFL official, Mike is fair. But when Mike says that's not a catch, it's not like, this guy's lying or he's got some incentive. Who blew that? McCarthy said it's my decision. Great, it's fine. He owned it. He didn't blame anybody else. Good for him. Somebody in that coaching pair dynamic blew it. Who?
Jerry should have seen it. Jerry has a phone in his booth to the coaching headset.
Call it.
In the replay. Jerry, call it down. You've done it before. You do with Barry Switzer all the time.
That's great. Well, they blew it. And as a result, the Giants move in, like was said earlier, get a shorter field, kick the field goal. They expand the lead. Now the Cowboys are in a position where they got to go for the touchdown. First and goal from the 6 turns in third and goal from the 18. Andy Dalton's under pressure, lofts a duck for Dalton Schultz, and there's the interception that basically ends the game. Clarence, we talked mostly because they deserved it about players who stunk this season and a head coach too. Who was good this season?
Greg Zuerlein ended on a roll.
There we go. Greg the leg.
Greg Zuerlein. Come on. I think DeMarcus Lawrence ended pretty good.
He did.
Randy Gregory showed us something toward the end of the season. It's tough to judge, man. CeeDee Lamb was good. Amari Cooper was good. Dalton Schultz was much better than expected and proved to be tougher to tackle than we expected. But again, this is a team thing, and the Cowboys, they have hope that once they get their guys back, okay, once you get the offensive line back and Dak back to go with this offense, they're going to be humming again. But does that change the decision making that killed them? Does that, and those sort of things. The coordination of the defense, they still need to add players, need to add some influx of talent to that defensive line, and certainly linebackers. Sean Lee most likely is retired, and I don't know, Leighton Vander Esch, he can't stay healthy, and we all have questions about what Jalen Smith's upside is and where his level of play is. But you got all these special players on the offense. We can talk about that and how you're excited about them. Who are you excited about to see come back on defense?
Diggs looks like a player. Randy Gregory, I think Tank's probably still got another year of pretty good production.
You need more people. You need some people in the middle of that defense. They need a standout defensive tackle. They need some linebackers to make it play. They need safeties. Of course, Donovan Wilson. The ball just finds him. He really turns the ball over and does a good job with that. But you have to make a decision on Xavier Woods. You got to make a decision on Chio Wuzie. You got to make a decision on Jordan Lewis. Those guys are all free agents. So the Cowboys have a lot of questions that must be answered starting tomorrow. And tomorrow, now the game is over. I guess it's tonight. The season's over. They can actually begin negotiations with Dak Prescott.
Yeah, and I wonder how that's going to go out, because that will obviously be the dominant storyline until that deal is done. And you talk about players back, you know, I think anybody in their right mind would have serious concerns about the long-term viability of Tyron Smith, the left tackle who missed the season with the torn ACL. He'd been battling stuff before that, and I think anybody would be justified to say, you know, we hope for the best, but we don't know how much more time's left on that clock.
Well, they will have a top 10 pick, and so you have to decide how you're going to address that. You know, are you going to use that on somebody on defense, maybe an offensive lineman who's going to be available?
Justin Fields.
Do you? He'll be gone. He's going to be number one pick. He's already moved up to number one pick. Okay.
Yeah, played Trevor Lawrence. Okay, I know we've taken too long. You got other stuff to do. Clarence, it was fun talking to you. I'm sorry the season sucked. Happy New Year to you and your beautiful family, and we'll talk to you on the flip side. Mwah.